Welcome to the 5K Yarns podcast with BILLO. This is a podcast where the finish line is just the beginning of the story. Every Saturday morning, all around the world, people like you and me gather to walk, jog or run, or just cheer from the sidelines. The guests I have conversations with attend these parkruns. It's formed an important part of their weekly routine. Some attend with their dogs, with prams, with their mates, and even with their families. Some just like to do it by themselves. Some chase PBs, some chase community, and some just chase the post-run coffee. After all, that's what it's all about, right? This podcast will share their stories with you. Each episode I sit down with everyday parkrun heroes to hear what this little 5K means to them. Because behind every barcode, there's a yarn worth telling. Lace up, sit down, tune in, and let's go for a run together. Now, before I introduce my guests, we should go and cover the disclaimer. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the 5K Yarns podcast with BILLO belong solely to the host, which is me, and my guests, and do not reflect the views of any affiliated organisations mentioned, sponsors, or partners. The content shared on this podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only, and should not be considered professional advice. Listeners' discretion is advised, especially as the topic may include some strong language and sensitive material. Now let's get on with the podcast.
Welcome everybody. This week on 5K Yarns podcast, we're joined by a truly remarkable member of the global parkrun community, Pippa WHITE. Pippa's parkrun journey began back in September of 2014, and over the past 10 years she has built an extraordinary record that reflects her deep passion for both participation and volunteering. With 410 parkruns completed across 250 different locations and 267 locations visited in total, Pippa is a seasoned parkrun tourist, proudly representing events across England, Wales, Scotland, France, Italy, Germany, the Netherlands, Ireland and Denmark. Not any in Australia yet, Pippa, so hopefully you'll get there one day. Not only is she a committed runner, but she also an outstanding volunteer, having amassed an incredible 536 volunteer occasions across 23 distinct roles at 170 different venues. Her volunteer ratio is 104%, which shows just how much she gives back to the community. In fact, Pippa is a proud member of the V25, V50, V100, V250 and is well on her way to the prestigious V500 club. Pippa's impressive stats include a personal best time of 23 minutes 55 seconds at Stratford-upon-Avon, best age grade of 70.1%, best finish position of 10th and even a first female finisher at an event. She has covered 2,050 kilometres in total distance at parkrun events, a top Wilson index of 14 and a floating Wilson index of 36 and a repeat index of 28, which highlights her love of exploring new events but also returning to favourites. With a current tourist streak and a personal record of attending 53 parkruns in a single year, Pippa embodies everything that makes parkrun so special: commitment, community spirit and a sense of adventure. Today we'll hear about her favourite events, memorable adventures across multiple countries, how she juggles running and volunteering, and what continues to inspire her every Saturday morning. Get ready for a yarn full of passion, milestones and lots of parkrun love. This is Pippa WHITE, athlete number A119764. How are you, Pippa?
Oh, that's good. I have no idea quite who that person is. That makes me feel a little bit embarrassed, but there we go.
Why be embarrassed? You're special.
The one thing that makes me laugh is that the ID as I'm turning up to events. I can help do this. A1197634. So there we go.
Yeah, it's good when you can actually quote your number off the top of your head, isn't it?
Absolutely, every single time.
So what made you get started in parkrun?
This was a funny one. I was living in Camberley in the UK, very close to the Sandhurst Military Academy that some people have heard about around the world. And my former husband had just disappeared off to Bahrain for 9 months for the Navy. So all got this very military background here. And I had come across a charity that helps women with childbirth injuries in Ethiopia. And I'd been supporting it for a number of years. And they said, we're doing this run. We're going to go and join the Great Ethiopian Run in Addis Ababa. So I, texted my husband at the time and said, this sounds great. He said, you can't do it. I was like, okay. He'd just gone away for 9 months, forgotten my birthday. So I signed up. That was my birthday present. So that was back in April 2014. And then I realised I had to start getting fit. So Addis Ababa sits at 2,500 metres. It's quite high. And I had run a mile recently. That was all. So I started running. And then a friend, a guy called Roy Barker, said, you should do this parkrun thing. I went, yeah, whatevs. Yeah. Run, park, don't want to do that. And he kept at me, and then I finally signed up and went along. So my first parkrun was at Frimley Lodge. It took me a little while to get into the swing of it, and then we moved, and then it took a little while for me to get to the swing of a new place. So it took about a year for me to become a regular parkrunner. But since then, so since July 2015, I've got that right. Yeah, July 2015. It's more or less been an every Saturday activity. In terms of the actual run in Ethiopia, it was really fascinating. Running at 2,500 meters when you're running at sea level normally is quite tough. Loved it. Loved the whole part of it. I don't do a lot of racing. But I love running with community. I also run for my mental health. So, it started off with one side of getting involved to support a charity I thought a lot about. And it's ended up with doing so many other benefits to my life. So, there we go.
Look, that's awesome. And look, I've known you, I reckon probably about 7 years. Now, that relationship started linked to Parkrun Adventures podcast.
Yeah.
From memory, it was the Streaky September. Now, you've still got your streak going, is that right?
Absolutely.
So, for the benefit of the listener, what the streak involves is doing a minimum of 30 minutes activity, which could consist of a minimum of 2 kilometres of a walk or a run. Cycling, swimming, whatever. And how many days have you been doing that continuously for now?
Oh gosh, that was I hadn't thought of that. Let me just consult my watch.
Right.
It's 2000 and something. So there's a bit of a story behind that as well. There we go. Thanks, Garmin. It's one of the few things that we do. 2081 days. So
wow, that's all right. That's incredible.
So this was September 2019. Auspicious month. I realised I needed that discipline. I was getting out some days, most days maybe, sort of ish. And it was just that whole discipline of just, at the time we were saying 2 kilometres, a little bit more if you cycle, a little bit less if you swim, about 30-ish minutes. And I've done that ever since then. I've done that ever since the 1st of September 2019. On the 22nd, 23rd of September, I fell down 3 stairs having, it was more or less when Queen Elizabeth Casino had started, just afterwards. My home parkrun at the time was Queen Elizabeth. We'd done this great weekend. We'd twinned the 2 parkruns. We'd had this wonderful occasion. I was back at the house on a Sunday, twisted on the stairs, fell 3 steps and cracked my lower back. And all I could do then for the next 2-3 months was walk. I couldn't sit down. It just hurt. Everything hurt. And I just in that whole depression of thinking this could have been very much of a life-changing injury, I just got myself out because I could actually manage 2 kilometres. It didn't matter how long 2 kilometres was going to take. I just did it. So I'd worked up from that. So it did mean that then in the UK, when we then had to be locked down from the March, I'd only just started getting out again. I'd only just started being able to get back and drive. But, I just kept going. Absolutely kept going. And Streaky September is now very much part of a reset each year. Streaks can become a little bit obsessive, just a little bit. There we go. And I try to make sure that it's not streaking for the sake of streaking, but streaking because I'm looking after my physical health and my mental health, and I'm actually getting out there for the right reasons, not just because I have to make a number go up. So I less focus now on the numbers. So I did note my 2,000 the other month, but actually for me it's just, have I got out? Have I got out and had that walk? Have I actually done something positive today? And most of those runs and walks tend to be without headphones on, to try and actually get out, look at what's around me. I rarely streak inside on a running machine. This is about an outside activity. So there you go. That's Streaky September.
That's still impressive in itself. Now, let's just talk about that a little bit more. Have you ever come close to breaking the streak?
In the early days, yes.
Yeah. And how did you work through that? Do you sort of commit yourself to a certain time every day to get the activity done, or it just comes natural as a part of your daily routine?
It's now much more natural. In the early days, I did a number of I had a streak saver. I knew where my 2 kilometres was, and I went out from time to time at 11:25 at night to get it done. It changed during COVID. So in the UK, we had 70 weeks of no parkrun. We weren't the last country to come back, but I think you guys in Australia had come back a lot earlier than we had. I had also started the not parkrun thing, that 5 kilometres a day from October 2020. So I've actually done 5 kilometres a day since that point. I tend to go out first thing. So I've been out for a run this morning. Been out for a walk this morning. It's Monday. I tend to get out earlier because then it's done. Yeah. I get a bit twitchy by lunchtime if it's not happened. It's a little bit itchy, but it gets done. And people know now. The number of times I've joined friends on a conversation with my phone, with my headphones on, walking around. I'm streaking, and my friends now just think I'm a little bit bonkers. But there we go.
Look, aren't all of us people that get involved in parkrun, and particularly the addictive ones, bonkers?
A little bit. Yeah.
So with parkrun, is there anything that you would add, change, or remove from the experience? So if you were in the position to say, "Hey, Parkrun UK, here's an idea. This is what I'd like to present," and they take it on board, is there anything like that, or something you would change?
There are things I would like to adjust. I miss having the volunteer club. So before COVID, I don't know if you ever looked at this, you could see where you were doing. This was very much how data was looked at, and stats is a very hot topic, and I'm a little bit nervous about getting into those. Parkrun still really focuses, to my mind, particularly in the UK, much more on the running, walking, jogging participation and less so on the volunteering participation. I like being part of, different clubs. So I'm Parkrun Adventurers Club, the With Me Now Club, and the like. But within those, if I volunteer, I don't count as having done a club activity, which is a little bit frustrating. And there's a bit of this sense that if you volunteer, it's about not giving back, giving up, or choosing. There's various words that come in. Some people absolutely love volunteering, yet they are they are seen to only do it for altruistic reasons, which annoys me a lot. But you don't have that same level of competing in sense of a volunteer. Yes, you can get the milestones, t-shirts, but when people get excited about the stats, they're looking for their run stats. It was actually for a volunteer knowing you've been to this many places, or this is what you've done. That information is missing from your parkrun profile, and I find that frustrating.
You can actually get it from the 5K app though, so there is a lot of that information is more visible. But I hear what you're saying.
The 5K app is not Parkrun's app.
No,
that's an
right.
unofficial app. Yeah. On the official Parkrun website, it is an awful lot harder to track your volunteering stats. It's also a lot harder to track how well you're doing versus other people. It doesn't have to be a competition, but you know, it's quite fun when you go, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And yes, I would like a little bit more of a sense of, some people volunteer because they enjoy spending their Saturday morning, or as we are with juniors in the UK, their Sunday morning doing something else.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I mean, the way I see it is that there's typically three groups of people that get involved with parkrun. There's the runners that very rarely, if ever, will they volunteer. They're out to go back to the traditional, I guess, grassroots of what parkrun was about, which was the time trial mentality. And it's interesting to see how it's evolved over time, and obviously reading PSH's book recently, how I think in some respects he's changed his view of it as well, from being someone that was injured initially and couldn't run, so that's where the whole concept came from, to then realising, hey, this thing doesn't run itself, we need volunteers to do it. It's going to be that one of those topics I think that's going to be debated for generations to come, as long as parkrun is about. But I definitely hear what you're saying. I mean, personally, I'm the sort of person who likes a balance of both. You know, my volunteer ratios, not that it's a competition, because I'd never even look at that. I couldn't care less if someone runs a course quicker than me. I don't care less if someone's done 500 more event locations than me. I just enjoy being able to just embrace the concept of it, going around, meeting new people, get involved in the community spirit, and meeting people like yourself and others around the world as well. So you mentioned juniors, so obviously a lot of your numbers have come from juniors, is that right? So you're actively involved with the juniors as a volunteer?
So, pre-COVID, so in my family, all four of my family back in 2015 had barcodes. Both my daughters did their first parkrun on New Year's Day 2015. And then when my former husband turned up again from Bahrain a bit later on, we dragged him along to a few parkruns. I think he was somewhat ambivalent. The eldest daughter, I think, has done 4 parkruns and a few volunteers. And my youngest is busy working on her V500. Sorry, I've now forgotten your question. I know there was a reason to
around juniors and your involvement
around
with juniors.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at the point I'm separated, and having broken my back, stuck in London, I had my daughter coming up to see me weekend. That's how my youngest daughter, we spent our weekends doing parkrun stuff. She discovered volunteering very early on. She had a not a good first parkrun in a lot of respects, but that's what we did together on a Saturday. So we did some touring, we did some local stuff. I tried to persuade her to do some juniors. Pre-COVID, she established the fact she did not like to get out of bed on a Sunday morning. That was her one morning where she didn't. So she was coming up to stay with me, then we just didn't do juniors. During COVID, I became, became homeless. Where I was living became very unsuitable very quickly, and I ended up moving back to my hometown. And I hadn't lived there for 30 odd years, and I started running with the group of people who are part of the event teams of Stratford-upon-Avon Parkrun and Stratford-upon-Avon Rec Juniors Parkrun. When everything came back, I did a couple of volunteers at juniors and thought, this is great fun. My daughter wasn't coming up to be with me at the weekends at that point because she had gone off in a leap of faith to university. This is my youngest daughter. She picked a university on whether or not there might be a parkrun if it ever came back. So I got into the habit of going to juniors, and then her friends at Lancaster Parkrun set up a junior parkrun, at which point she was like, yeah, this is fantastic. So Rylands Park Parkrun and my youngest daughter, then everything aligned. And since then, we have both spent a lot of Sundays volunteering at juniors. It's quite a different experience. There are fewer barriers to get involved in the UK. You can just trot up and help out. But it's much about that community who get together. The better volunteers know. The people who find it easiest to volunteer at juniors are often those who don't have children themselves. We think about how do you invite somebody to come and volunteer? My daughter, who primarily volunteers, she's done 31 parkruns and 480, 90 or something volunteers. I've kind of lost count a little bit. She brings people to parkrun to volunteer. She doesn't bring people to parkrun to run. It's just not what she does.
Wow.
Because that's not her experience. Her experience is having great fun with people. And we do the same very much when we are, juniors. The people you want to have come and volunteer haven't got kids who don't want to get out of bed, haven't got kids who've got a cold, haven't got kids who don't. They're there to meet their friends and have a great time. And that's very much where I see some of the joy of volunteering coming in. It's a very, very long way around to say I tour on a Saturday and I don't have a home park run. My home park run is mostly at juniors, and that's where I meet my friends. That's where I meet my pals each week.
So you're Nendy. I know that people call it different things. Do you call it Nendy, or do you call it like Danny Norman, Nended, I think he calls it from memory? Nenned, that's it.
So
how far away is your Nendy?
Depends which app you look on. If you look on the Chrome extension, it's still set to what is my home parkrun, which is Queen Elizabeth in Hampshire. So it's a parkrun called Great Saltons, I think, which I'll get around to do at some point. But that's a couple hundred miles away. The closest event to where I am at the moment, which I have not yet done, is Fire Service College in Morton in the Marsh, I think, which came back after a long hiatus a couple of weeks ago. But I'm saving that for...
Wow.
Oh, it's a 20-minute drive. I'm saving that for when I need an emergency. My plot these days has gaps in, little honeycomb gaps in. So I've got some places I can get to within an hour and 20 minutes that I haven't yet parkrun at. It's always important to keep those ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got a few like that. I think my closest one is still a 2-hour drive from here, so it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So tell me about, I guess, one of your proudest moments with parkrun. Or do you have one? Or they might all be proud moments.
Proud in the sense of what I've achieved. I mean, I'm really excited about the fact I've now done my 250 different events. Am I proud that I'm delighted for the fact I've done it? Probably less proud. I think I'm proud when I've actually gone around and got somebody to the end of a parkrun when they thought they didn't want to, or they weren't convinced they could. So that's where pride comes in.
That's important, though. That's very important. Because, there's a lot of people that, particularly if you're a first timer, you don't know what to expect. You're quite anxious. And, I don't know whether you've observed at the first timers briefing, and when they're asking whether it's a parkrun you've attended for the very, very first time, anticipation, well, it wouldn't be anticipation, it's more they're quite anxious. They just don't know what to expect. So for you to do that is really something that parkrun embraces, the community embraces, and there should definitely be more of it, because all it takes is for one person to get a negative reaction. I know that there's in my scenario, if I've been to an event and the feel hasn't been positive and you're just like, not too sure about this, and you haven't felt really welcome, there's no way I'd go back there again. So, and I think everyone has different experiences.
So this year so far, I've walked parkrun. Well, I've walked parkrun a few times, so I've walked it twice with people on their very first parkruns, and for various different reasons. So, and that's been fun. But on both occasions, it was making sure that the person I was walking with knew to go to the first times welcome. This is a non-negotiable part of the activity. This is where you come along. This is when you're going to get your first clap. But this is where you're going to find out about the course and ask questions, get some of that vibe. And then this is how it's structured. So if you are to go to another one, this is what you're looking out for. So we start at 9 o'clock in England and Wales. About 10 to 9, you're listening out for first timers welcome. Where is it? I'm looking for it now. So making sure that those people who are having their first go are going around. And making sure that I don't just abandon that person who's made that step. Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are moments I've had great joy in. I like the running. I like running against myself. I like finding out how fast I can go. But actually, I get a lot of delight in getting people started. Now, I'm not going to walk a lot of times with the same person. Yeah. I reckon they get 1 or 2 goes at walking with me. And then as far as I'm concerned, they're off to go and do their own thing. But I'll make sure that they're properly started.
But that would depend on whether you click with them or not, and you have a good conversation with them too, surely.
Once somebody knows what to do. So, my friend Zoe, who we got her to a first, I'm going to have to go and drag her to a second. But if I went up a third time, I go, right, I'm going to run this time, I'll see you at the end. Or I'm going to run this time, I'll come and join you as you're finishing your walk. I go to parkrun not to walk. I walk when I'm injured. I walk when I'm there with people for the first time. I wouldn't deliberately choose to walk forever at parkrun just to get a friend around. I'll get them started.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, it's because I think it's a case of individuals exploring what it's about and making new friendships. I mean, I'm sure you're no different to me. That I guess the largest circle or part of my friendship circle now are people that are involved in parkrun. It's just the way it's become.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. Now let's talk about parkrun locations. Do you have a dream location that you would like to attend?
I have some dream countries.
Would Australia be on the list?
Yeah, and also I really want to go to Puarenga Parkrun in New Zealand. I want to smell the stinky parkrun. There's a number of parkruns in Australia that are well and truly on my list of places I'd like to go to. Some of it because they're brilliant on social media, others because they're a little bit destination. I'd like to.
What would be the top of your list?
So Melissa Ellis will laugh at this. I really want to go to Tulern Creek. I know it's not a very exciting parkrun, but their social media posts are brilliant.
Yeah.
They make me happy. I'd like to go to Queen Elizabeth Casino. Very much because we had this twin thing. There was a wonderful morning where they waved at us and we waved at them, and they were a new parkrun, had no idea quite what was going on. It was great fun. And there's other places which you hear and you think, sounds like such a fantastic parkrun. Generally, location-wise, I like the slightly harder trail runs that are one lap.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah.
surely Nambour in Sunshine Coast in Queensland would be on your list, so you can go and see Fluffy.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of them. I've been trying to persuade the youngest who's really embraced parkrun. She wants to go and work in Australia for 2 years, and I'll come and spend 6-8 weeks out. We're working on that one.
That's good. You've got to have something to aim, mate. That's for sure.
Absolutely. So she's got to achieve these things for her career. And there's a couple of the Italy ones I want to get to. I lived in Italy for 6 years, and there's a couple I really, really just want to scratch the itch. Just want to go and see them.
Well, you've ticked the box on one of the countries that unfortunately is no longer part of parkrun, which being France. So how many did you complete in France?
So I managed one, and I had designs on doing more than that, but didn't actually get to that point. So this was a trip. Again, the youngest. I've lived a lot of my parkrun fantasies through her. She wanted to achieve on her 100th day, 50th location of volunteering, I think. 100th day of volunteering. She wanted on her 100th day of volunteering or something to have got to 50 locations. I can't remember. The numbers are starting to disappear. But she also wanted to, so there was numbers aligning. She wanted to become a world tourist, so having done 4 different countries. She wanted to have done her UK alphabet, become a pirate, all these things. So I said, we need a spreadsheet. She was like, we don't need that. So, seriously, kiddo. If we want to do this, we're going to have to do all of the things. But we did a road trip around Europe. We picked 3 parkruns: Rouen in France, Muro di Lucca in Italy, which remains probably my favourite parkrun. And then we went to Nidda Park in Frankfurt. And it was, for us, it was she was 17. It was a journey of exploring all the things, and it was lovely. Yeah, amazing. I'd love to have gone back and done more of France.
Look, that sounds awesome. I guess in some respects it's no different to say for us here in Australia to travel from one state to the next with the distances involved. So tourism's definitely a favourite part of most people that I know, and when they get onto it, they sort of look back and think, well, I don't know why I did so many at the same parkrun location when you first get started. I mean, I know I certainly did. Is there a dream location or well, I asked that question, but rephrase it slightly. Is there a location that you've identified that could do with a parkrun in your travels? Because obviously we travel around a bit when we're doing our tourism, and obviously you'll go to an area and you'll think, this place could do with a parkrun, I think.
Have you looked at the map of the UK?
I know the UK is pretty much concentrated. Is there actually any room for any more in the UK? They always seem to be launching new ones.
So around where I live on my Sunday morning runs, and also my walking and running around from where I stay, I think the scope, there's a country park that is being constructed on a new housing estate, and hopefully they're going to have a path in there that will put a parkrun in. However, they were supposed to construct this country park 10 years ago, and they're only just getting started, so we'll have to see what happens there. And in some respects that'd be lovely to be able to roll out of bed on a Saturday morning at 20 to 9 be there for a 9 o'clock start. I have got better at embracing the joy of a local parkrun. Or maybe they just have a juniors there, and I'll go and start the juniors. And there's a couple of other places where I've seen scope for, a kilometre's worth of track, not crossing any hazards, no roads, where I think juniors would go in beautifully. So I do keep an eye out for those. I think I recognise that a good parkrun with volunteers is close to a place which has got the amenities, it's got the coffee shop, it's got the toilet block, and I've come across a few places that need a parkrun, but they don't have the people close enough. It's a difficult one. I haven't really found a place yet where I think that needs a parkrun. When I was running in lockdown, I was running around a park going, this needs a parkrun, and then ended up moving. And I've yet to go back and do the parkrun that somebody else has set up there. So I'm delighted that it's found its parkrun. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Someone else had the same thought, or unless you had a conversation with the person and they took run with it, which is, either way, it's a good thing.
But it was part of the need parkrun.
How many parkruns do they have in the UK now? So obviously Saturday mornings, it's pretty high, isn't it? It's like 700 or 800, is that right?
I think it's more than that. I can't remember.
That's right. Juniors, you've got a large number.
Yeah, I can't.
No, that's okay.
There's enough to keep me going for a long time.
Now, is there anything about parkrun that annoys you? Now, you don't have to hold back. You can do whatever you like here, because this is what it's all about.
I think I used to do something called Run Talk Run, which is a brilliant initiative, a mental health run, set up in different districts, and people would get together an evening after work and go for a mental health run together. It was about chit chat, waiting for the slowest, having a potter. And I liked it, but I'm not continuing to go because I actually like the time as well. I think parkrun its strength is its broad-reaching interest. So for those who want to potter along and volunteer, those who just want a very slow run with friends, those who actually want to blast around, I think there can be a tendency to see that the ones who want to run it fast are not in the spirit of parkrun. But actually, for me, that is very much also what parkrun's about. So I think there needs to be a balance on how we have those conversations. That's the one that annoys me. There are times when I really want to just go out for a fast run and see how I'm doing, and I want that also to be parkrun, and there can be a tendency to be moving away from that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, everybody has their own reasons to the reason why they do parkrun. You touched on the mental health aspect. I mean, that's obviously played a very important part in helping you in that space, as it has with me and many other people I've spoken to. So definitely nothing wrong with that, where one day you'll say, okay, I don't want to really talk to anybody, I want to go out and run, but then another time you go, you want to engage with people. So that's what it's about. It's the freedom to be able to do that, I think.
Yes.
Now, away from parkrun, other interests or other things that make you tick, what would they be?
Oh gosh, I like to be outside. I do genuinely like to be outside. I like to be out. I like to do a bit of spot camping. I like chucking everything to the back of the car and figuring out what works. I miss parkrun for one weekend of the year when I go to the Le Mans 24-hour race. There's a story on that for this year.
That sounds exciting. Go do tell.
So
you're a rev head, are you? You like the fumes of race cars going around a racetrack?
I like endurance racing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's actually it sums up my whole parkrun thing. It's not necessarily about having all the. It's about having the best car, of course. It's having the reliability and its persistence. Yeah. And endurance racing is not about what you can do in an hour and a half. It's what you can do in 24-hour hours. And I just think that's incredible. My youngest daughter is known as the tame volunteer. She prefers to have that her name isn't widely over social media. Turns out the tame volunteer hits V500 this year, so will have volunteered at 500 on 500 occasions. That's great. It's brilliant. So we were checking the dates out, and then we had 3 cancellations in end of winter, beginning of spring. So looking at when the time was going to turn up, suddenly it looks like she's going to be doing her V500 when I'm in France, ready to go to the Le Mans 24-hour race. Her birthday is also in June, 9th of June. And at this moment in time, what's going to align is her birthday on the Netherlands extra day. So their special day is Whit Monday. And that's going to be her V500 in the Netherlands. So
Nice. That's
currently, the plan is that I arrive to go to Le Mans on the Sunday morning. So it takes a little bit of preparation, camping, holiday, and the rest of it.
Yep.
Stick the tent up on the Sunday morning. Walk to the tram station. Get the tram into the centre of Le Mans. Get an overnight bus from Le Mans to Maastricht. Get picked up by the friend who's driving the Tame Volunteer over. So to drive to a parkrun, not quite in Maastricht, just outside, because it would be a repeat, otherwise one of the group of us go. Do parkrun, get back on the overnight bus. So that's that's a little bit of the adventure in that one for you.
Okay.
But I like the idea of the adventure on that one. So yes, I'm out to go and do a week's worth of watching people go around a racetrack, fast and consistently.
So this
With
is a bit
adventure
of food for thought in your future planning, particularly when you do come to Australia. You're talking about endurance racing of the motor vehicle variety. You're familiar and heard of the Bathurst 1000 here in Australia at Bathurst Mount Panorama.
Yep.
So that's
on
held
the list.
October every year, and 2 weeks after that, they have the Mount Panorama Punish, where you get to run one lap of the track. And I've done it the last couple of years. Be going back and doing it, and absolutely love it. So put that in. Make sure that's on your calendar, okay?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I heard about that one, and the parkruns that are close by as well. So that sounds good
there's plenty close by. I mean, Bathurst parkrun's not too bad, but there's quite a few around that area, and I certainly use them as an opportunity to explore other closer locations while I'm travelling to Bathurst for the Mount Panorama Punish. Now, you've touched on meeting people, walking around, but if you were to talk to a total stranger for the very first time, to try and encourage them and to get them to come along to parkrun, how do you reckon you'd go about it?
It depends a little bit where the concept is. So if it's a friend and I'm staying at their house because I'm going to their parkrun, it sounds like quite different. So I'm quite passionate about parkrun. Parkrun is not quite what it says in the title, but it's a 5 kilometre community event on a Saturday morning. I'd really love it if you wanted to come along. What is it? We could run if you want, but actually it's as much about walking or a slow jog. It's that mental health space to get out. I'd love it if you came along. If you want, I'll come pick you up and then we can walk it together or we can run it together. Let me know what suits. You need to do a little bit of admin before we go. Get yourself a barcode, and send the details to get the web address. But let's do it. And that's probably what I say. And then when I'm trotting around with that person, I try really hard not to get a bit obsessive. This is just what we do and how it goes together. That's
exactly right. And I think being obsessive is not a bad thing, particularly if people can see what the positive aspect that it adds to your life. I have so many people, it's not uncommon for me to get in the car, because here in Australia, which no doubt you'd be aware, we've got start times depending on where you go in Australia. So the northern part of Australia is 7 a.m. The lower part of it, the mainland Australia, so obviously Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia and so forth, are all 8 a.m. and then Tasmania is like the UK with a 9 a.m. start. But so it's not uncommon for me to jump in the car at 3:30 in the morning, drive 400 kilometres, so what's that, 260 miles maybe, I think thereabouts, to go and do parkrun, have brunch and then drive home again. So I'm spending 8 hours, more than 8 hours in a motor vehicle. I've had many people say to me, "You're crazy, why do you do that?" And once I explain to them and what it does, it helps me within my walk in life, it's amazing the amount of people that have said, "Oh, okay, I might check it out, might give it a go." And I think that's a good advertisement in itself, is to be able to do that, let alone ticking the boxes on locations you haven't actually attended yet, and being able to do it.
I suppose I don't start with the we can now get in the car by 10 to 6 on a Saturday morning to drive 2 hours to go somewhere, 2.5 hours to go somewhere. I've tended to start with let's try something local and see how it goes.
No, that's awesome. Pippa, it's been absolutely wonderful catching up with you in this podcast. I love, over the years, followed your journey in terms of, parkrun and what it's done for you in your life. You're a credit to the parkrun community in all the areas that you touch, and broadly other countries as well, through your involvement, particularly in the Parkrun Adventures podcast during Streaky September, where you actually generally will record an encouragement of words, I guess is the best way to say it, during that period to encourage people to get out. So thank you so much for what you bring to the parkrun community. It's been absolutely wonderful catching up with you, and proud of your achievements. Well done. Not far for that V500 shirt now. So you should get that this year. Is that correct?
Sure. Well, there's one thing we've not really talked about. It is those whole 250 locations.
All right. Well, let's talk about that. We don't have to finish up yet.
No. Let's just do a quick one. Yes, 250 different locations. I'm absolutely thrilled to bits. Whether or not I get to 500 is a little bit about time and space. So, in terms of what I've done, obviously there's the first early ones where anything more than 25 minutes seemed a very long drive, to now occasionally thinking that leaving 2.5-3 hours drive beforehand seems quite sensible on Saturday morning. There's been some highlights in there. I went to Bevendine Down, which is quite a hilly one near Brighton. And the tail walker there, incredible woman, gave me the courage to leave my husband. So there we go. The walls around Luca. No, she really was. She just said, sometimes the most difficult step is it's the one
making the decision.
So the second one is I went to Lucca, which is this amazing Renaissance city in Italy with walls, and you get to walk around the top of the walls. Just unbelievable. We did it in August. It was really hot. It's very flat. It is just iconic. Everybody who's been there just comes back going, it's the best parkrun ever. And that's really fantastic. And then the rest sort of sit in a little mess on there. There's a couple that I've revisited that have been a little bit bonkers. So I don't know. Does the word scraggy mean anything to you guys in Australia? I'm not sure. Yeah. A scraggy little parkrun around a place that shouldn't have 5 kilometres. It's absolutely, and suddenly it's fantastic. It's exciting. It's got that parkrun spirit. It's not a location you ever thought you'd go to. And on the other hand, you go to somewhere which is supposed to be iconic and the volunteers haven't got it. So, being interested to sort of see all these different flavours. I tend to visit parkruns when they're a little bit older. My Wilson index is a bit useless because even 15 weeks in feels a bit young. I like it when somebody's sat on the signs and everything's a bit battered, and we have these wonderful pop-ups, and somebody and somebody sat in it in the wrong way and it bends.
Bent all out of shape.
Or there's mud on it. And the reason I picked Lyme Park for my parkrun this week was because it was an off-road, hilly one, traily, one lap. And it was just incredible. It's got a reputation for being really hard work. And absolutely, I can get that. It was incredibly difficult. And it was really hot and utterly beautiful. And I had a great chat with some older runner who, 20 years older than me, yet he was running around and just being absolutely fantastic. And we chatted probably for a couple of kilometres in it. Other bits, there's one on a wonderful little island off Ireland, which involved getting out of a hotel room at 4 o'clock in the morning to get a bus along with the Area Airways tour, to get a ferry to go and do this parkrun that starts at 11 o'clock in the morning. Oh my goodness gracious me. Again, a bit hilly. But yes, it's been the joy of also sort of trying to connect across the UK, make a line of parkruns. So on my Voronoi plot, it's all got one colour. I did the two hilliest ones in the UK, so Whinlatter and Durlston. Again, thinking halfway through that my life choices need to be really looked at. They're both a lot of up. So, you know, and there's some but there's some incredible people I've met along the way. And, you know, 7 or 8 of them, 9 of them came and joined me at the weekend, living in quite different areas. One from the south of the UK, others that were more local to the parkrun. And that's what I find really fun. So in terms of favourite locations out of there, I've got definitely 2. And there's a whole load of others. There's probably another 230 in my top 10. So,
now, look, yes. It's incredible, and I'm looking forward to actually heading over to the UK at some stage. Obviously, the pilgrimage to Bushy is definitely on the list. The other one I would like to do is Wimbledon Common, and the only reason for that is my mum was born in Wimbledon Common, so there's that connection there. And then I'd like to probably head up to Scotland because my youngest brother lives in Scotland.
Oh, whereabouts?
Look, I could Falkirk, is it? Falkirk? I don't know. I'm probably making it up, but
you might want to look at. There's a parkrun called Lanark Moor.
Yeah.
Which is, so if he's Falkirk, then he must be quite close to the Kelpies.
Yeah. Look, I don't know. I mean, I've just conversations with him.
You need to talk to your brother.
I probably need to look at the map and actually find out exactly where it is. But I'm sort of one of these people that won't look and really research it until I really, really have to. So obviously, as a part of the plan to go over there and see him, then that's...
So Falkirk has got the Kelpies, which are these mythical horses, the heads that come out, rather amazing, and also the Falkirk wheel on the linking canals and rivers. But there's a parkrun called Lanark Moor, and there's a mountain bike section and a bit of loch. So you run around the bit of loch, run up a hill, round this really bonkers mountain bike set, you know, up and down all the way around, and then round the loch again and finish. And it was amazing. I was collected to go and do it a couple of years ago now by one of the run directors and taken back. I was staying with friends and I was taken back afterwards by the ED via a gin distillery, you know, so there's nothing could possibly go wrong here. But that was, again, an absolute favourite. So that one needs to go on your list. Absolutely.
Look, I would love to be able to head over there. Who knows? Look, I guess the beauty of it is that we don't know what's around the corner. Having, I guess, British-born parents, I can quite easily get dual citizenship and get a British passport, which obviously will enable me to move over there and work over there if I need to. So who knows? That's something that I may do in the future because life's just too short. You know,
Absolutely.
It's one of those things, you know, I mean, we look at parkrun, and obviously it was introduced in the UK 2004, in Australia was 2011. I look back and I think, geez, what was I doing back in 2011? Why didn't I discover it right back then and to be able to then get out? But hey, look, that's hindsight, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Now, before we go, you mentioned one name before of an individual being Andy Aries, and his unique setup of being able to, I guess, assemble a group of tourists and go around and travel around and do these park runs, mainly through Europe. But just explain what Andy does, because I mean, I'd love to get him on the podcast one day and have a chat with him, and I'm sure I will. But it's definitely a unique thing that he does.
So, my take on what Andy does is recognise 2 things. One is that one person in one car going somewhere could have another 3 people in, and then reduce the environmental load, which then becomes, 20 people in a 15 people in a minibus or 50 people in a coach. And the second one, which I think you've alluded to before, was that there can be some nervousness about visiting a new place. And if you go with a little bunch of people, it can take that nervousness away. He organises trips once a month ish. He's just done a big trip to go to South Africa. He did the extra day in South Africa, visiting Namibia and Eswatini at the same time. So it was 10 days in South Africa and 3 parkruns. In Southern Africa and 3 parkruns, which I thought was really incredible. But he gets a group of people together. They hop themselves on a bus and go off and explore a parkrun. And it's just a very gentle way of sharing the cost. Once your local event is no longer 20 minutes away, the fuel cost can also be quite prohibitive. So he will do a 3-hour minibus from one place to another and back, and we'll publish what the cost was. Often it's under £20. You're going to have to work the conversion rate out for that, but it makes it also affordable for somebody to go on an event. Now, he lives in the Bristolish area. I will tend to join the trips when they I look at them, and if they're convenient for where I live. So there's a service station on one of the motorways that will be going north, and I've discovered where I can actually park the car. So I'll park the car, walk to the service station, which is 4 kilometres away, get on the bus, go off, do whatever adventure it is, get back to the service station, walk back to my car. So, it's a way of taking the environmental load and reducing it somewhat. He's good fun.
Which is important, because I know that I think maybe last year Parkrun UK made a big noise around tourism, and they really didn't encourage or want to encourage people participating in parkrun tourism for exactly the reasons that you've indicated, around the impact of one person going in one vehicle. You multiply that by the number of people that do tourism, it's crazy. So carpooling or vehicle pooling, and what Andy does, it's an incredible thing. And Sam over here in Australia has started doing a very similar thing, Sam's Plan. So I've been involved in a number of those, and it's certainly an enjoyable weekend too, because you get to spend time with typically parkrun friends, like-minded people, and you do other things outside of just the parkruns as well. So very, very important part of it, I think. And I just think that there's opportunity there to, for an individual to even potentially make it serious and have a parkrun tours type business set up. If you really wanted to go down that track, you probably wouldn't call it that, but essentially if that was their model that they use, then absolutely. But I've been following Andy's what he does sometimes. So you've been on a number of his trips, have you?
Yes, a couple of them have been slightly disastrous.
Okay.
One of them, there was a plan to go and do a particular parkrun, and because of roadworks on the road, the coach drivers ran out of hours to drive, so we had to scramble and find new parkruns to go to. But that was okay. I found a new park. And we had some bad weather too, so that was okay. What's a parkrun tourist? Somebody who thinks on their feet. Probably 10 or 12. Not lots. Okay. There are other people who go on a lot more, but I don't quite live in the right area to go on a lot more. And occasionally I've hopped into the car with Andy as well. We were just disappointed he couldn't come and join us this weekend. His employer decided he had to work Saturday and Sunday. So darn jobs that involve cutting into car time is terrible. I actually knocked back an employment opportunity recently because there was no room or scope for me to negotiate doing parkrun, and to me that's a non-negotiable. So anyway, all to their own, I guess. Yeah, and I think there's always space to negotiate a little bit of flex. I mean, it doesn't have to be, if I had a job that I really loved, but I could do alternate Saturdays, or I had to recognise that three Saturdays a month I would have to go run and be straight back into work for 10 o'clock, then I could do that, I could do that. And I would do that, and I would stop touring if it was the right job. But I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I tried to negotiate such an arrangement, and it was no, sorry, not going to happen. So
no,
anyway,
unless it was your dream job. There we go.
Well, it was. It would have been a dream job in the respect that it is another interest that I have outside of parkrun. Very familiar with the concept and the product and the service they promoted. So I would have been able to walk in the door, hit the ground running quite confidently, manage a team of people. But the crux of the matter is that they just weren't prepared to. And I guess looking into it a little bit more, for me at this point of time in my life, employment culture plays a big part of being happy in a workplace. If you've got a culture that seems to be dictated and dictatorial, and you're just basically going to be treated like a number, then that's, to me, I'm not interested. I'd rather be working in an environment that I'm valued as a person and the skills that I present. So anyway, there we go.
There we go. Anyway,
so are we ready to wrap this up, or is there anything else you'd like to? Yeah, very good. Look, we can always absolutely have you back on a future podcast. This is the beauty about this, and I've had, obviously this is episode number 4. I've had others already say to me, oh, look, I loved it so much, definitely want to come back and do it again at some stage. So who knows, we may recap in 12 months' time and say, hey, Pip, what have you been up to in the last 12 months since we caught up in episode 4?
Sounds like a plan. All
Good
right.
on you. Well, thank you very much. I love your energy, love your presence. Keep doing what you do. Keep it real. And until next time, thank you very much.
Brilliant. Cheers, Billo. Thank you.
Bye.
So there you go. That's a wrap on another edition with a guest. If you liked that episode and you're interested in looking at the back catalogue or being notified when more come out, please subscribe and like, because that's your way of being able to get notifications. So until the next podcast, thanks for your time.